I have to bring up Islamophobia now, because a key tenet of Islamophobia is that it's all about Islam. And you don't need to know anything else. Which means there's no history, there's no cause, there's no effect, right? It means you don't have to ask any questions. So you hear certain political candidates now saying, I don't know why this is happening. Well, my God, you know, read. Right? So there is a history, and you know, Syria is different than Iraq, is different than Afghanistan, is different than Yemen. So it's hard to do all that, but in terms of our responsibility, well, you probably know that Ronald Reagan created the Taliban, right? I mean, and Mahmoud Mamdani, a Columbia anthropologist, wrote a book on this and said, you know, never since the 7th century had this vision of an army fighting in the name of Islam been materialized until the Reagan administration, with the help of the bin Laden family, decided to create it to fight against communism, right? So that's the source of the Taliban, not Islam. Like, the Israeli government created Hamas because as a opposing force to the PLO, right? That's been documented. That happened about 20 years ago. Again, it wasn't about Islam. And I've already mentioned that ISIS is really the product of former prisoners of the U.S. administration in Iraq. So, but you know, it's not that simple, because Saudi Arabia is involved in this. Wahhabism is involved in this. The Saudis are the #1 arms buyers of American weapons, so there we have corporate interests involved in maintaining that relationship with Saudi Arabia no matter what. And of course the oil in Saudi Arabia. So there are internal factors. Saddam Hussein, excuse me, I got the wrong. Hafiz al-Assad, Bashar al-Assad, sorry, the father, son. You know, definitely was a dictator and a repressive leader. I mean, there's absolutely no doubt about it. People led a revolution to overthrow him, just like what happened in Egypt, and now that's not a pleasant story either. And it was a bit chaotic there, and the Saudis got involved, and Qatar got involved, and they just threw money at groups, and they didn't really monitor what was happening, and you know, it's a real mess in Syria. Yemen is being attacked by Saudi Arabia and American drones. Saudi Arabia is launching its proxy war against Iran, who it just doesn't like, because they're Shia. Very silly. But they can't attack Iran, so the cost of being quiet over the U.S. treaty with Iran, the kind of peace we have now, is that Saudi Arabia can do whatever it wants in Yemen. So the Yemeni people are the victim of that conflict, which has the U.S. is a partner in that, in its ascent and in its drone killings in Yemen. And the Yemenis have nowhere to go. Their only neighbor, they're bound. They have the water on 3 sides, and they have Saudi Arabia, and Saudi Arabia won't let them in. So they just have to sit there and be killed, because the other choices are crossing the Red Sea into Djibouti and Somalia, and you have to go through Qaeda territory. Anyhow, it's really... So I don't know that I've clarified anything there, but it's very complex, and the U.S. government is a key historic partner in these complexities and in a lot of the negative outcomes of them.